Hey, hello all. So today we are going to discuss about how we can configure web pages or web servers with the help of new Ansible Navigator tools, or we can say automations tool. With the help of these, how we can configure those different environments, different configuration services over the systems, right? So today we are going to discuss about how we can configure the web server via Ansible Navigator, right? So what first we need actually to perform this lab, or we can say to perform this practical, right? We need at least two system. We can say a control and manage node. Like earlier, you guys know to perform these automation, all those things, or for the testing purposes, we need at least two system, right? We can say a control node and we can say a manage node, right? Or to understand it easily, we can say Ansible server or Ansible client, right? So in our environment, what I need exactly, right? So we need at least two system or two node, we can say, right? One, I need a control, we can say control node, and second, I need a manage node, right? So in our lab or in my lab, we can say we have a two machines. We can say we have a rel 9 that is that treat as like my control node, and we have another machine, we can say, that is treat my as a manage node. You guys can configure any kind of system, that could be a physical, virtual, cloud, container, not a problem. Make sure that should be that all these machines are able to communicate with each other. That's a requirement, right? So the scenario what we have, that in my case we have a control node. Okay, I can say that is my control node. Okay, so that is my control node, and we can say we have multiple manage, that could be multiple manage node, depend on you guys, like how how many number of machines you wanted to manage with the help of Ansible, right? By default we have some limitations that we can say Fox value, we'll discuss that later but not now. But here we have just treat that we have some limited resources, right? So these one treat like a control, okay, and these machines is like my manage node. Okay, that name could be anything, not a problem, depend on you guys, like we can say Ansible server and Ansible client. Okay, so in earlier video we'll already discuss how we can configure or install Ansible Navigator. Okay, and already we discussed about how we can configure the manage node as well. Okay, and how we can authenticate without password, right? So we'll discuss all these in the earlier videos. If you not check that, just go and then check all those videos, right? Here just read that, or just imagine that we already have lab set ready. We have a control node and then we have a manage node, right? These machines are by default able to communicate with each other, right? If I just show you with you guys, right? So that is my control node, and here that is my DHCP server IP. So by default we have something 137. Okay, so what I can say, that is my control node IP, we can say. Okay, and for the same I have the same IP, we can say we have a something 121, we can say 118. Okay, so that is my tree that manage node IP. Okay, make sure these machines are um, able to communicate with each other. You can just ping with any machines, like from control to manage or vice versa. Okay, and also make sure, because we are performing the automations, right? So make sure these machines are by default I mean, your control node should take a remote login of your manage node without prompting the password, right? So for that we will we already mentioned that, like password is authentication. In my case that is by default happening. Okay, now so the first thing, to perform any task or any playbook, we need two things. Already we discussed these as well previously. We'll discuss that inventory already we discussed, so you can check that videos later, right? So we have an inventory file by default, and then we have a authentication file, so that is ansible.cfg. Okay, so in my system, if you notice on that, okay, so on my working directory I have these two files. That is my inventory file, I can say. Okay, and all the hosts are mentioned here. Okay, that could be your name, IP addresses, or you can mention with the group. Okay, and that is my that is my cfg file. Okay, so in my case we are on the current path, so I just mentioned my inventory file in the same format. And the remote user, so here I'm performing my task to the remote user, so that is a remote user username. Okay, again, if you have a normal result, already we discussed for the same many times, but if you guys have any problem for the same, just let me know. Okay, so these are some dependencies, or we can say we need some information file to perform our automation task and all those things. Okay, so now the next we are going to do here, we are going to perform, or we are going to write a playbook, right? What we are going to do here, we are going to write a playbook, right? So that playbook allow, or that playbook are going to perform your web server installations and the configuration over the managed node, right? We can say. So in my system I have only one manager, I'm going to use that. But again, if you guys need more than one, then you can simply start those multiple machines, add host information inside your inventory file, right? And then make sure these are like passwordless authentications. Okay, and then you can perform multiple machine installation configuration at the same time. Okay, so in my case what I have, that I'm just going to write a playbook. Okay, and then I'm going to execute that playbook to these particular managed node, right? So for that, in Ansible Navigator, you guys already know that we have an Ansible built-in module, right, that allow to run, or that allow to execute your command. Okay, so jumping on the lab, what I have exactly. Okay, so that is my working directory. We have an inventory file, and then we have a CFG file and all those. Okay, and then authentication, all those. Just okay. So here I'm going to create a playbook with the name of something package.yaml. That name could be anything, depend on you guys like. That name could be that YML, or you can just use YML, not a problem. Okay. And in my case also, the Ansible Navigator package is by default installed. Okay, if in your case is not installed, then install that. And for the installation video, the already mentions in the previous chapter or previous videos, you guys can check those as well. Okay, now so I'm going to create a playbook with the name of something like package.yaml. Again, that name could be anything. The extension is .yml, or you can mention YAML. Okay, not a problem, so that we can say a giant markup language. Now playbook, you guys know, starting with 3 dashes, because we have some syntax and all those things. Okay, that is not mandatory, but yeah, that we can say is like a format. Okay, now we are setting the labels. We can say a name. Okay, so this name we can say that represent what like we can say labeling of the script, like what you're going to what you are going to write exactly. Like we need some installation packages and all those things. So that's a message when we are going to execute this playbook, it will print over your terminal. So we can say this is a label. Okay, so we can say display something message, that could be anything, not a problem, but syntax you need to remember that. So this playbook, right, for install packages, that we can say. Okay, now mention that your hosts. Okay, now so these hosts could be your IP addresses, this could be your host name, or we can see specify in the group, right? So in my case I have a host, that is my managed node, I'm going to perform over this machine. So here I can mention with the name, right? In the real world or in the productions, you have a machine that are might be communicate with the help of name, we can say DNS configuration and all those things. You can mention the name as well, not a problem, depend on that, right? So in my case I don't have a DNS server, I'm just mentioning those in the same plain text format like IPs. Okay, again, if you want to perform these tasks over the multiple machines, you can specify with the help of commas and all those things. Okay, so these are syntaxes. We'll discuss that how we can call host inside your playbook file, but for now I'm just using only one host, so I'm just mentioning only one host. Now mention that what task you are going to perform that. So these are task syntaxes. Now inside the task, now mention the task, because you guys know that a single task store a multiple subtask, we can say. So now inside the task I'm setting a label once again for the task, not for entire playbook. Okay, so the first task I want to do with the help of this Ansible Navigator, I wanted to install HTTPD package, let's suppose. Okay, so that is my task label, right? And earlier version, if you guys remember in RHEL 8 or whenever we are using a simple Ansible playbook command, we have a simple module, we can say yum, right? Either we can use a DNF. Now in Ansible Navigator, we need to pass the same thing with the help of like Ansible, okay, dot built-in. Okay, so and then your module name. So here you can use your might be yum, right, in the earlier version, or we can say older version. Either you guys can use the DNF, not a problem. Okay, depend on that, like if you have both the modules available inside your managed node, you can use the yum as well, either you can use the Ansible. Okay, so process and command is same. Since the syntax what we have there, because these are all built on the container and all those things, so that's why we are using the built-in. Okay, we'll discuss that why built-in, what the use of built-in, so we have a chapter for the same, but for now we are simple talking about how we can configure web server, web pages, we can say, with the help of Ansible Navigator, right? So for that, Ansible built-in, and then your module name, and now mention that your package name, right? So I'm going to use package, the name, and then your package name might be HTTPD. Any package we can see. If you want to install multiple packages, you can use the different like label 1, label 2 and all those things. Either you can use in that way as well, that is also possibility, right? But we can discuss that you can use something HTTPD and all those things, but for now I'm just going to install only single package, so simple mention your package name. Now with the help of yum module, we can say, right, with the help of yum module, what you want to do, that you want to update, upgrade, remove, like what? Okay, so in that case the state argument will help you for the same, right? So I wanted to install those packages, you can simply mention the present, right? You wanted to upgrade the package, so you can mention the latest kind of thing, right? You wanted to remove the package, you can mention the absent. Lot of things we have that, but we'll discuss that. But for now I wanted to install those packages, so make sure the state should be present. Okay, so the point what we have, that with the help of yum module we are going to install which package and what status you need, that you wanted to install those packages or remove those packages or upgrade those, update or upgrade those packages. Okay, so that's the first task. I wanted to start and enable the service 2 as well, right? So for that I'm going to write another label. Okay, so again mention that name, right? Make sure we are in the same task and we are passing the different label. Okay, make sure these labels should follow the same indentation. Okay, now so the name I'm just mentioning, I wanted to mention like I'm writing this label to, we can say, start and enable which service, HTTPD, right? So in earlier version, if you guys remember, we have a module is service module, right? So the same thing here, just passed like how, same Ansible, okay, dot built-in, okay, and dot service. Okay, now mention that which service wanted to start, that I wanted to start the service name, we can say a daemon, that is HTTPD. That could be anything, like what package you are going to install that, and the daemon. Okay, and the next, the status should be what? I wanted to start, restart, stop, like what, right? So I wanted to, the status should be, I wanted to, the service should be start. Okay, so what command it will execute that in the backend? It will execute like systemctl start and then HTTPD. Wanted to restart those services, you can use like that. It means what? The command will execute in the backend like systemctl restart and HTTPD. Wanted to stop those services, right? You can mention like that. It will execute like systemctl stop HTTPD, right? So here I wanted to start or restart the services, you can mention that the service should be started. Okay, and you wanted to enable the service like systemctl enable HTTPD, that command will execute inside the backend, right? So here you can mention how enabled is equal to not equal to, sorry, enabled colon yes. Okay, it means it execute the command like how systemctl start HTTPD and then systemctl enable HTTPD. It will execute that, right? So in that task what we just mentioning, we are writing two tasks for now. Okay, in this particular section we just install those packages and then we'll start and enable the services. Now I wanted to configure the web pages as well. Let's suppose I wanted to configure index page, right? That should be accessible over the network, or we can say a private or public network, right? So in that case, write another label. Again, you can write multiple label inside that single task, right? So I'm just passing another label for the same hyphen name. Make sure that should be in the same indentations like that. Okay, I will let you know how we can check that indentation with the help of that tree mechanisms. Okay, so I wanted to create a page. So what I just labeling mentioned that configure configure paste web page. That could be message, that could be anything, not a problem. Web page. Okay, now, so again, if you have a test page inside your system, you can mention the syntax like we have a copy syntax. If you copy model, we can say copy, source and destinations, right? If you don't have that source available, you can use that content module or content command. Inside the content, you can write your message inside the same playbook, and it will paste the content inside this file over the manage node, right? So for that, I'm going to use the same we can say module, that is Ansible built-in. Okay, and which module? Copy. Okay, so now in the copy, what we have, the syntax, we have a source and then we have a destination, right? But in my case, actually I don't have a source. So what I'm going to write here is over the source, I'm going to write a message, something like content. Okay, so content allowed to write your message directly over here. Like let's suppose I wanted to print a message inside any file, something like this is test page configure from, right? Configure from Ansible Navigator. Okay, so this message should be stored inside which file? So you can simply mention destination. I wanted to store inside something where www/html with the name of index.html. That's all. That's the process. Simple. Just like small web pages, right? It means what? So this command will create a file. This model will create a file over this machine inside where www.html with the name of index.html. Okay, inside this inside this file, this message is stored. That's all. The simple process, right? So we are writing a simple 3 task, right? What we have, that we are writing a we are installing the packages, we are starting and enabling the services, and we are creating a web pages. That's all. Save and exit. That's all, right? So what we have 3 things. What we have, that we have inventory file, CFG file, and then packages, right? Inventory file, ABC, okay, authentication and authorization, that are inside my CFG file, and what task you need to perform that are inside the packages.yaml, okay. So inside this we have mentioned, right? So before run this or before execute this playbook, exactly we can say before execute or before run this playbook, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to check that, like, is there any package installed with the name of something, we can say RPM and all, HTTPD and all those things, right? So for that, okay, let me jump. So that is my manage node, okay. So if you notice now, I don't have any package installed with the name of HTTPD. That is for the testing purposes only, before on that, okay. And even though I don't have that file with the name of HTML inside something index.html, I don't have that file, even though folder I don't have that, okay. And the service is not even though configure. Why? Because we have not a service, is not going to configure that, okay. Just leave as it is. No worry about that. I'm not going to install this manually. Jump on your control node, okay. So simple run a command, like how earlier we have a command like something Ansible playbook, right? But now I'm going to use like Ansible Navigator, okay. Run your YAML file, and then just using the standard out, okay. That's all. Hit enter, right? So if you notice now, we are the first message we are getting, like what, the playbook purposes, or we can say label, okay. Now the task label, so it's installing the package like HTTPD, right? So it's changed, it means that's correct, and starting a services, right? And then there's a configure. So we are getting a 3 colors, especially if you guys remember or aware of the playbook, we have a red color, green and yellow. Red means we have some error and all those things, green means unchanged, and then yellow means changed. If you notice now, over this machine, okay, here we have a change. It means what? It installed the package with the name of HTTPD over this particular system, okay. And also it will it also start enable the services and also configure a file, okay. It means if you are in public machines and trying to access your page over the web page, right, this package over these machines, I mean I'm talking about this manage node, okay. And if this IP is in public, you can access this web pages entire the globe. Just depend on that, right? So let's suppose you can access with the help of browser or you have a command, then you can also use the curl command to check the same page. Like let's suppose I wanted to check that, you can use curl, and in my case my managed node IP something 1.118. okay, hit enter. Here you check the page is accessible, right? Same thing, you can also use the browser to check the web pages, like 1.118 in my case, this page is accessible here as well, right? So you can check from anywhere. Wanted to verify manually, so it's simple, jump on your manage node and then you can verify. Earlier, if you remember, we have not pack installed, but this time this package is installed, if you notice now, right? Even though earlier if you check the services, right, this pack service is not running, but this time it's running and also enabled, right? And inside your this documentation root, already we have a file with the name of index.html and the message that is available over the portal that is mentioned here. That's simple, right? So the process remains same, everything remains same. With the help of Ansible Navigator or with the help of Ansible, you guys can configure all those things, even though we are getting the artifact logs and all those things, right? Wanted to customize something, wanted to remove something and all those things, you can mention and you can delete all those, right? So this is like a small playbook, right? With the help of this playbook, what we can do, we can configure our package, we can install in the web server, we can configure the web pages over the single system, or we can say over the multiple system, depend on the requirement that you guys need to provide those things. Okay, so that's a small thing. Okay, and the next videos or the next chapter will discuss in the next sections, or we can say the next chapter, whatever we can say, right? And again, if you guys have any doubt so far, right, just simple let me know, right? We'll let you know like how we can fix those error might be or getting some package installation and all those things, we'll discuss that. Okay, yeah, then